Tears of the Kingdom has been out for a couple of weeks now, and a ton of glitches have been found. The problem is, most of those glitches aren't very helpful to the casual player. So here is 7 tricks to make your play easier. There's also some tricks that require things that would be spoilers, so as it's only a few weeks into the game, I'm going to save those for last. I will put a spoiler wall at the end of the video before those, but the rest of the video will be spoiler free. Starting off simple, the first thing I want to show you is shown in one of the shrines throughout the game, but you may not have come across it yet, or you may have forgotten about it. Hold R, whether you have a weapon equipped or not, and then open the material menu. You can then choose any material to throw. This was not possible in Breath of the Wild. You were able to drop material or chuck it a small distance away from you, but you weren't able to throw them with any amount of force. And this is firstly very entertaining to just be able to chuck apples at enemies, but more importantly, it allows you to have a lot of combat ability when you can light things on fire or freeze things. This can be very handy for saving on bow and arrows. If you're only trying to get things to go small distances like this, then you don't need to fire it with a bow. The most powerful things you can use with this will be any sort of bombs or gemstones. Gemstones are interesting because you may not have realised that either by fusing it to your bow or just by throwing it, it has a massive amount of power stored inside of it, which creates, in this case, a giant shock cloud that will stun any enemies inside of it, or in this case, burn, including us, anything within the radius. It can be incredibly handy. It also allows you to just chuck apples wherever you like. The second thing is also related to throwing, but it is a different type of throwing. So anyone who's played Breath of the Wild will know that the Master Sword can throw beams of light, which is very handy, but there is other things in this game. This one is the cannon. It not only sounds awesome, but it is awesome. But the main problem with it is aiming. If you just throw with it, it will just go forwards in front of you, and it's very hard to predict exactly where it will go. So the easy way to do that is with throw aim. It will go exactly where you want it to. This has a number of uses, including breaking breakable blocks as well as a bomb flower would, causing mass devastation to anything around you, and being a very handy weapon for things like taluses. The third thing is something you may have come across casually, because the fusibility is very entertaining and you can fuse pretty much anything you can think of to a shield or weapon. The game actually shows you a few of these in shrines. Firstly, the rocket shield looks very entertaining. Firstly, it allows you to, with a shield jump, go very fast forwards until the rocket runs out, but far more importantly, by holding the shield in front of you, allows you to get up fairly considerable heights with little effort. This can be very handy if you're surrounded by a swarm of enemies, as you just go straight up away from them, and if you have a paraglider, you fly away into the distance. This also helps you get through puzzles really easily by just skipping above most of the height-based ones. This ties into the 5th trick that I'm going to show you. There is a number of ways to achieve a fair amount of height by holding your shield in front of you. One of them is the rocket, which quite arguably is the most powerful of the bunch, but there is also ones that are just easier to come by because you're not going to find too many rockets out in the open world. So things like bomb flowers allow you to go not quite as high, but still very convenient, and as long as you've been to enough caves you will probably have a steady supply of them. And the final one you can use is a literal spring, just allowing you to bounce into the sky whenever you like. There is a ton more zonai devices you can attach to your shield with a number of uses. This one is the same as any zonai device with wheels on the bottom. It allows you to pretty much just have a skateboard, which, especially on rocky downhills, which a normal shield surf would not allow you to get down very easily, this can just go down nice and happily. There is also a zonai equivalent of the bomb flower, which is the time bomb, and this allows you to do just as much height with a nice flourishing sound. Other notable shield things are the sled, which allows you to just slide as if you had the smoothest shield in the world, making for an absolutely speedy time across most surfaces. And the current favourite of speedrunners is the wing shield. Not only does it just look ridiculous, but it's also quite handy, and allows you to get extra height on any shield jump, as if it's partially flying you forwards. To show this, if I just do a normal shield jump off of this, then Link goes about 2/3 of the way to the lily pad. If you use the wing shield, however, it may not look like much of a difference because it doesn't have such a big effect on your horizontal movement. It is more of a vertical thing. There's quite a few other things to fuse to your shield with a number of uses, so experiment with it, see what you can find out. The fifth trick involves the pesky battery and how it just doesn't last long enough. If we take a nice relaxing flight through Hyrule with my fairly powerful battery, if I can make it over this hill, then this is something the game doesn't teach you. There is a very handy way to use your zonai charges. By using either a normal zonai charge or a large zonai charge which has far more power, and using it, it refills all of that, and in the case of the large zonai charge, gives you a stupendous amount of battery life, allowing you to fly near infinitely. The only problem with this comes with the inbuilt destruction timer on the zonai devices, which means they will start flashing green at some point in your travel and then suddenly disappear. But this still allows you to get much further than you could with a small battery otherwise. Spoiler time, spoiler time. The sixth trick relates to none other than the Sage of Wind, Tulin, which if you've done the Wind Temple you will know to give you a burst of wind that allows you to do further horizontal flight. The only trouble with this is it gives you a short burst and then it reduces all your speed back down to normal again. But luckily there is a way to overcome this, which isn't too hard to learn. So if I go from here, normally we can only make it to those stairs. With Tulin's Gust we can make it up to those stairs. As I'm about to show you, we can actually make it all the way up to those stairs by using this trick. So if we fly on our way, use Tulin, and then press B and X, that was very fast and hard to follow I'm sure, but we were able to carry all of our speed over from after the gust by just putting the paraglider away, quickly taking it back out again, and you only have to do that once to reserve a fair bit of your speed. But doing it twice and making sure that you don't take too long to press the paraglider back out again, else you'll just lose all your height, allows you to go much farther distances. On this short scale we still managed to go up an entire flight of stairs extra, but for farther distances it really makes a big difference. Just to show you what it looks like using Tulin like you're expected to, you lose all of your speed right there as soon as the wind disappears. And you just drop down. I haven't taken the most efficient route, I've made it to middle way of these stairs before, but we only managed to get to the bottom of here, whereas earlier we managed to get all the way up to here. In the case of a cliff that doesn't have stairs, this can be really helpful and save a fair bit of climbing time, or allow you to make it up to places that you wouldn't have been able to otherwise. So this is just a really convenient trick that you should definitely know. Well, the final trick, which is my personal absolute favourite, this allows you to not need to get a whole bunch of armour. Also, that guy has just appeared out of nowhere. Give me a minute. So, back to what I was saying. This is amazing if you don't want to spend the time to get the money to buy a whole bunch of gear. This works for the desert for heat armour, and for, more importantly, the volcano for fireproof armour. This set costs around 3,000 rupees, which is not easy to get your hands on. And if you don't have it on, you burn fairly quickly, but using Sidon's power of water, he gives you fire resistance. If I quickly get rid of the bubble, and my weapon apparently, then you'll see that we're still steamy. Now, this steam effect you can get from hot springs, and from choo-choo jelly as well. But those ones, interestingly, last a lot less time, so this effect that I have now will last for 2 real-life minutes or 2 hours in-game, and it can be refreshed at any time just by using Sidon again. Using Choo Choo Jelly only lasts 40 seconds, but it's still incredibly handy if you don't have Sidon yet. This means unless you're spending 2 whole minutes climbing, in which case you wouldn't be able to talk to Sidon, then this allows you to just have permanent fire resistance for your entire time at the volcano without having to buy any fire-resistant armor. Unfortunately, even though I've gone to the desert, it is currently night, which means it's freezing cold, and there isn't any way of heating yourself up with either Sidon's ability or the Choo Choo Jellies, because if I throw fire at my feet, it hurts me a bit, but doesn't give me any cold resistance in the slightest. So if you're not wanting to buy any cold resistance armor, firstly there is the warm greaves on the Great Sky Island, if you're able to find those. Or you can just cook some chilies to get a cold resistance elixir. But if I go to daytime, much better. This is the early hours of the morning in the desert, so it's actually not cold or hot. So that's another way of travelling in the desert. Anytime in the middle of the day, Link will be very unhappy with everything going on, but you can still get the fire resistance from Sidon, and that allows you to cool off in this nice bubble even when it runs out. Unfortunately, this only lasts 25 in-game minutes or 25 seconds in real life, which is really surprising considering you'd think that fire would be far worse than heat. But in such a dry area as a desert, I suppose it does make some sort of sense that you just dry out incredibly fast. Even though in a volcano the air itself is literally on fire. Now of course you'll be wanting normal Choo Choo Jelly, not white Choo Choo Jelly, because white Choo Choo Jelly, it really helps cool you off, but it's a little too effective perhaps. With a nice splash from some normal Choo Choo Jelly, you can get heat resistance. This was a thing in Breath of the Wild if you just hit a Choo Choo Jelly, but the effect only lasts 5 seconds. 5 seconds in real life. It's really not worth how much Choo Choo Jelly it is. Whereas in Breath of the Wild it lasted at least 20 seconds. So it seems like they've tried to make the heat resistance of Choo Choo Jelly not as effective, but they've accidentally made the fire resistance way more powerful than it should be. If it's intentional, then that's a very interesting move, but this trick will help you so much in your casual game if you're either not able to afford the armor, or if you want to just try and get through the elements without needing the armor. So thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something from this and found something that will help you have an easier time playing Tears of the Kingdom. Consider subscribing, because I will be making all sorts of Tears of the Kingdom videos in the future. And before Link passes out from the heat, I will see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching.